Hi equals, it's Kim. Welcome to Monday, although you'll probably see this on Tuesday or later. This is November 5th, I think, Monday, November 5th. So hope you had a great Halloween last week, that your weekend was good, and welcome to the new week. Last Friday, had an exciting thing happened, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. The Counselors, Social Workers, Marriage and Family Therapist Licensing Board of Ohio it modernized a statement that they actually already had around the harm that conversion therapy, also known as reparative therapy, also known as sexual orientation change efforts, have on particularly young people. Why young people and not older people? Well, partially because young people don't have a choice. Their parents can force them into a therapy, whereas an adult can make their own decision whether they're going to attend a certain therapy or not. And so in that way, a minor doesn't have the same autonomy to say no that an adult would. But they made this final statement that it's harmful, that their licensees could have their licenses revoked for engaging in it. So why is that important? Let's talk for a minute about the state of the law around conversion therapy in Ohio. So legally speaking, it's still legal to conduct conversion therapy, reparative therapy, sexual orientation change efforts in Ohio. That said, one of the things that I've learned over the years of working with like the National Association of Social Workers Ohio and the Ohio Psychological Association, the Ohio School Psychologists Association, working with experts in the field, that it is actually against the standards of care and the ethics of licensed professionals, Ohio state licensed professionals, so those licensed by Counselor, Social Worker, Marriage and Family Therapist Board, the Psychology Board, the Psychiatric Board, which is actually the medical board, and other boards that license various therapists. It would be against their standards of care and their ethics to engage in conversion therapy anyway, and here's why. Because it would be against those standards to go into a therapeutic situation with a preconceived notion of the outcome. And so if your thought is you're going into a therapy with the notion that you're going to cure somebody of their sexual orientation or gender identity, then you're already in trouble with your license around your standards of care and your ethics. Now, is somebody who's undergone conversion therapy or reparative therapy going to be able to make a claim to these boards and get their licensed therapist reported to them? Yeah, this is where we have trouble. First of all, therapists only keep records 5 to 7 years, depending on who they are. And if you're a young person, even say you were 17, and at 18, you managed to end the conversion therapy because now you're 18 and you can say yes or no to it. Maybe you go to college for the next 4 years and your attention isn't on, you don't have the wherewithal to report your therapist. You're just glad to be done and out of it. So you go to college, get out of college a couple years, and all of a sudden now it comes back to you and you're like, oh, maybe I should do something about this therapist. Well, now you've potentially exceeded those 5 to 7 years. We even found somebody who was within those 5 to 7 years time frame, and they tried to, and you have to have your records in order to file a complaint, and they tried to get the records from the therapist, and the therapist outright refused to give them to the person. There is a mechanism by which you can go through the federal government to impel your therapist to give you but let's face it, folks, most people don't have the stamina to undergo that kind of process. So actually filing complaints with a licensing board is difficult at best. And if you were to ask the licensing boards if they've ever received complaints, they're going to tell you they haven't. But there's a reason for that, and we just discussed it. Okay. So some cities have banned the practice. Again, there still requires somebody to file a complaint, but the complaint under city ordinance would be somewhat less painstaking, less time-consuming, less complicated than reporting to the licensing boards. So those cities are Toledo, Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, and Lakewood and Athens, Ohio. All have some variation on a ban on conversion therapy within their city limits. Each one is slightly different. While we love it when the municipalities pass ordinances that are helpful to LGBT people, we'd much prefer a state or federal solution so that we don't have this patchwork of slightly different situations in every city. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate the cities, the municipalities that have gone forward with not only non-discrim, but banning conversion therapy. We really do appreciate them. I'm not sure I'm making a whole lot of sense here. It's legal at the state level, at the federal level. It's not legal in some of the cities, and I listed those, and I'll run them right here for you. It's already against the standards of care and the ethics of licensed professionals that are licensed by the state of Ohio. That said, there is an organization, it's the Christian Therapists Association, something like that, that licenses therapists, and all of this that I've been talking about does not apply to them. They are a faith-based organization. These are faith-based counselors, and they are exempt under the First Amendment from these particular actions that we're talking about. If you're a parent out there, or if you're somebody trying to help a parent out there who's trying to think about, what kind of therapies to be getting for their child, pay attention. You don't want to accidentally be sending a child to somebody who's engaging in conversion therapy. Know what you're looking for. You need to ask the right questions. What is their position on sexual orientation and gender identity? What is what kinds of therapies are they going to engage in? Are they willing to explore a child's sexual orientation and gender identity with them while remaining neutral about which direction the child goes? These are important questions. Just thought that we'd talk about conversion therapy for a little while. I am hoping that we can move on to other licensing boards, that maybe eventually the state will actually act and make the practice unlawful. The licensing boards cannot. They are allowed to regulate therapists, but not therapy, if that makes sense to you. And so there's still work to be done, but we're getting there, because remember, folks, we're going to make America compassionate again, and there are more of us. We can get this thing done. Please give me a thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button if you'd like to get notifications every time I put up a new video. Hit the little bell up there and be notified every time I put up a new one. Otherwise, have a great weekend, equals. Bye.